The Scottish Government were blasted after it was revealed that ministers hold monthly independence meetings chaired by Jamie Hepburn. SNP ministers have been blasted for attending monthly time-wasting summits about independence, when the NHS is in crisis and Scots are dealing with a cost of living catastrophe. The regular meetings are hosted by Jamie Hepburn, and involve a dozen prominent members of Humza Yousaf's administration. It forms part of his £97,000 a year portfolio to advocate for the breaking up of the UK, and he holds regular meetings with stakeholders, mostly about the series of Scexit prospectuses called Building a New Scotland. 8 of these have been published so far, at a cost of more than £80,000 to the taxpayer. And despite the Scottish Government needing to deal with numerous pressing issues across the country, the ministers have had time to attend the summits, and it is understood that there have been 14 of them held since last. The Scottish Daily Express can reveal that cabinet big hitters like Deputy First Minister Shona Robertson, Wellbeing Secretary Neil Gray and Constitution Secretary Angus Robertson all attended the one on July 31. Most of what they discussed was redacted, but they did talk about the launch of the Citizenship Independence paper earlier that month. This was widely derided when it was published, as it included plans for a Burgundy passport again, as well as allowing dual citizenship if you wanted to become Scottish and British. Despite negative reviews of it, the members reflected on the positive launch and reception of the citizenship paper and noted plans to have a fuller discussion on communication and engagement relating to BAN's publications at the next IMG. But the August meeting of the group was snubbed by the Deputy First Minister, but was graced with the presence of the 2 Scottish Greens ministers in Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater. Unfortunately, it is not known what was discussed about breaking up the UK, as the minutes were mostly redacted. These regular summits about independence were blasted by the Scottish Tories, who pointed out that the priorities of the nationalists were much different to those of normal Scots. Support for Scexit has dropped to as low as 40% in some recent polling. Scottish Conservative Shadow Cabinet Secretary for Constitution Donald Cameron told the Scottish Daily Express, "While it is hardly surprising the Minister for Independence is holding these regular meetings, Scots will be dismayed to see other ministers are wasting their time. At a time when Scots are struggling with the global cost of living crisis and our NHS is crumbling, ministers should be focused on those real priorities, rather than talking about how to push their independence obsession at every turn." The Scottish Government do not have the power to legislate for a second independence referendum and need to rely on permission from Westminster to hold one. But requests for a Section 30 have been repeatedly rejected by Prime Ministers, with Sir Keir Starmer expected to hold a similar. Despite this, SNP ministers are still spending public money on numerous papers which they claim sets out the case for Scexit, including joining the EU and putting up a hard border. Independence Minister Jamie Hepburn said, "The First Minister has appointed a ministerial team that reflects the priorities that he is pursuing in government and a programme that was endorsed by the people of Scotland at the last Scottish Parliament election, including tackling child poverty, improving public services, building a fairer, greener economy, and giving people the information about independence that they need to make an informed choice about Scotland's constitutional